Seth Davis from CBS, I think he took offense to people of my ilk who were suggesting that maybe the committee has a sense of humor and they manipulate some of these games. Seth Davis joining us now.
Danny Pooh, how you doing?
Good. Are you upset that, people have the audacity to say maybe we're manipulating it a little bit? I'm in favor of them doing this.
I would be too, by the way. I would be too. Are we talking about like the Patino, Minnesota, Louisville thing?
Or Marquette against Murray State? Is it totally random that those two games just came out of the hopper?
I realize that people, and by the way, you know what no one's talking about is if Arizona State wins, that's Bobby Hurley potentially playing his other school.
Buffalo.
Johnny Dawkins, I think UCF and Duke could be on a track. This is very arcane, nerdy stuff that usually only people like me pay attention to, so you'll forgive me. But there's a lot of misconception about how this works. When the committee's in that room, they basically spend 6 days going through everything, every record, to rank the field 1 through 68. They're not just doing the 1, 2, 3, 4 lines all the way to 16. They're ranking all of the teams 1 through 68, and that takes like 6 days. The actual placing of the teams into regions and into the brackets takes under an hour, which they probably do on Sunday to incorporate Saturday results. And it's basically almost automatic because it's driven mostly by geographies. Everyone's mad that Michigan State's going to the east, but D.C. is closer than Anaheim, so that's where Michigan ends up going out west. So they can look every 4 lines where the overall seed totals are totaled up, so they can shift around for competitive balance if it looks off. So they tweak it here and there, but mostly it's pretty automatic, and there's a lot of principles about how many teams from a conference can go here and whether they played in the first round there and certain things and whether or not, there's already somebody there so they go to a different region. But it's basically driven by geography, and it's basically automatic. So there's literally no way, even if you wanted to, Dan, manipulate these matchups because you're looking at the teams 1 through 68 and you can't figure out where all of that is going to end up. And so they actually don't even see these matchups until they're, okay, bang, we're done. Now we're going to look at a bracket. So they don't look at a bracket until they're officially done. So they don't have time, they don't have the inclination, and they literally don't have the ability to manufacture matchups. That's the truth. People don't want to hear it. They don't like to hear it. Every year we get these intriguing storyline matchups of a coach going against his former team or a dad coaching against a son or a this or a that.
Yeah.
It's just literally not possible. I'm sorry to spoil everybody's fun.
And then you got LSU and Yale, 2 schools dealing with criminal investigations. I mean,
how good is that?
It's too perfect.
Is that not the best scandal game ever? I mean, seriously. It's great.
What did the committee get wrong?
Well, I'll tell you, I actually thought that Tennessee deserved the number 1 seed over North Carolina. Everyone, knocked them. Everyone said they were 1 seed until they lost to Auburn in the final of the SEC tournament. But unlike Carolina, unlike Michigan State, they didn't have any bad losses. All their losses were the top 20 net teams. They beat Kentucky twice, including once on a neutral court, and they beat Gonzaga on a neutral court. So I actually feel like they had a case for a 1. But I don't know, Dan. I feel like this is one year where there just isn't that much complaining about what they did. Am I wrong? I mean, I checked out Twitter on Sunday night finally, stayed away from my own mentions, which I'm still trying to do. But I think the fact that they put Belmont in the field, and by the way, I'm not sure many people picked up on this, they had UNC Greensboro in the field on Saturday night, and then Oregon winning the Pac-12 took away that spot. So UNC Greensboro was the first team out. So they did – which I've been advocating for a long time, sort of make room reaching out to these mid-major schools who have proven over the years that they absolutely belong in the tournament.
Yeah, I watched UNC Greensboro when they were playing Wofford, and that was a fun matchup. I didn't realize that was going to probably cost them a chance to get into the tournament. A couple other things. Is Duke too young?
Ask me in 3 weeks. I mean, I'd rather be young and have Zion than be old and not have Zion. So I know they're not too young is the answer, but it's certainly something they're going to have to overcome. The bigger problem with Duke, Dan, is they're a terrible three-point shooting team. This is the worst three-point shooting team Krzyzewski's ever had. If they win the national championship, they will be the worst three-point shooting team ever to have done that. And they're also a bad foul shooting team, next to last in the ACC. So I worry more about when we get into a half-court type of game, possession by possession, against a team like a Michigan State or Virginia, or even a Gonzaga, Purdue, can they execute in the half court? And of course, foul trouble. If Zion gets into foul trouble or there's an injury, but that's the case with everybody. But I'll also make the argument that this could be the best defensive team he's ever had. If you look at their metrics, not only are they top in efficiency, blocks, and steals and all that stuff, but they're also in the top 10 in fewest fouls committed. So they're doing all this without fouling. So every team is flawed, but certainly Duke has the best A game in the field, and they're my pick to win it all. But I'm wrong once every 7 or 8 years, so maybe this is the year that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. You start to look at this.
Who's your pick, by the way? Who you got?
I haven't filled it out yet. And I don't reveal it until Thursday. No. What happens, I still have to be talked in and out again a couple of times before I fill out my bracket. So, this
is the great thing. This is a great thing because this year I got handed a bracket at 5:47. I almost had a heart attack on Sunday waiting for the thing. Clark does not look at the bracket, by the way, before the selection show. He likes to react to the teams as they come up. So I filled out my bracket in about 8 minutes and then got going on the show. I think that's the best way to do it.
I would agree, but I just love absorbing all of this information because it feels like I can talk you in or out of a pick. And and it doesn't matter if it's opening round or, the Elite Eight or Final Four. There's just so much information and everybody's got an opinion, and that's what makes it fun. But I also look at, when you start to look at, is there somebody outside of the 3 line that's going to win the national title? Because I talked to Doug Gottlieb yesterday. I said, I got about 6 teams I think that can win the national title. Do you have more than 6 who you think legitimately could win the title?
And I would say 8. I think it always sort of felt like, I'm not positive, damn it. I think if you go back to like the early season bracket show we do in February, we had the same 8 teams on the top 2 lines. I feel like those 8 teams have really been the ones who have been there all season long, and I do think that any of the 8 are capable of winning it. So that would be my net. But I'd be curious, one of your many staffs of researchers to run the numbers on how many teams seeded below 2 have ever won a national championship. I'll bet it's 15% or less, maybe even less. The seeding started in 1979. So it doesn't happen that often. It's almost always going to be 1s and 2s, and I think this year in particular just feels like the 1s and 2s have separated themselves all season long.
You got a book out, and tell us about that. It's you're dealing with some of the big name coaches here. How did this come about?
Well, it's out in paperback now, so it's called Getting to Us: How Great Coaches Make Great Teams. I've got 9 coaches profiled, 9 full chapters, 6 basketball, 3 football. The basketball guys are Mike Krzyzewski, Tom Izzo, Gino Auriemma, Jim Boeheim, Doc Rivers, and Brad Stevens. The football guys are Jim Harbaugh, Urban Meyer, and Dabo Swinney of Clemson. And, all those guys gave me great access to interview them and their families and their wives and their players, and really just kind of, developing their life and their leadership philosophy. And, to get insights on how to persevere, how to persist, how to develop your empathy, and how that applies to leadership. So out in paperback today.
Yeah, it's called Getting to Us: How Great Coaches Make Great Teams. We're talking to Seth Davis, CBS Sports College basketball analyst. By the way, I told the story when I went to see To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway. And as I got into the theater there, I had a guy go, "Hey, you're tops on the totem pole of most famous person here." And I went, "Oh, right. I feel pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good." And all of a sudden, I hear this.
And then I walked in.
No, you were already there. And then all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton walks down the aisle. And the guy next to me goes, "You're number 2 now." Then I hear this roar, and then Bill Clinton walks down, and he goes, I go, "I got it. All right. I'm down the totem pole." But I was back a little ways, so you got a chance to talk to President Clinton, and he wanted to talk college basketball with you.
Well, it was funny. First of all, I always write this on Twitter when I'm on an airplane, and someone famous walks on. I say, this famous person walked on, like Joan Rivers on my flight once. I said, if this plane goes down, I'm definitely not in the headline. So that would have been the same thing for us that night. Many people probably know this. My father's Lanny Davis. He worked actually went to law school with both Bill and Hillary back at Yale. and worked in the Clinton White House for a time, and is now representing Michael Cohen. Is very much so. It was total coincidence. I was there with my dad to see To Kill a Mockingbird, which is our favorite book. So when they walked in, we were thinking, we're going to see them. I said, Dad, let's leave them alone. But we were able to walk right down the aisle, and he kind of made our way there, and he said hi to her and him. And I've met them both here and there. I certainly don't know them as well as he does. But as soon as Bill Clinton saw me, he jumped out of his seat and started buttonholing me on college basketball. He's probably listening right now, taking notes on his bracket. And I was really impressed with his knowledge. And he told me he really liked Gonzaga. He's actually pretty good friends with Calipari. He had just talked to Calipari the week before and was telling me about that conversation and asking me my Final Four. And he kind of ignored my dad a little bit. So he's definitely, there's a difference between someone who just might know or whatever, and someone who actually watches and is a real fan. He really, really likes college basketball. It's pretty cool. And then I turn around and I see you. I'm like, this is like one of the great nights of my life, Dan.
And by the way, the play was really good as well.
Yeah. Yes. The book is better, though. I love that book.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I thought Jeff Daniels was really
terrific.
Yeah, he was great. It was fun. Yeah. All right. Good luck on the road to the Final Four.
Thank you,
and we'll talk to you along the way. And good luck with the reissue of the book. Thank you, Seth.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Dan. Thanks, guys.
All right. Seth Davis, getting to us how great coaches make great teams, and he'll be part of the studio team.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.